Exciting to be here, and I'm very, very much excited to have each and every one of you on set. You are welcome to Dr. King's talk show, and this is the countdown. It's a 250 days countdown to America 250 years independence celebration. By this time, 4th of July 2026, America will be celebrating 250 years, and we have to give our own voice. For every generation, there are a set of age group of people that must lead the narratives. And I very, very passionate about this because I know that it's now our turn to rise up and take the baton of leadership and entrepreneurship in shaping the future of America. And I can tell you, as we move towards the 250 years independence celebration and beyond, there's need for each and every one of us to rise up, especially for visionaries, for business owners, for entrepreneurs, people who have really, really pursued what we call the American dream. And so tonight, once again, it's such a great honor I have in the house. Kate Hamilton is an award-winning engineer, entrepreneur, and mentor whose journey uh, from design lab to a boardroom has proven leadership is both a calling and a craft. As a Black Engineer of the Year award and a Wichita 40 under 40 honoree, his work continues to unlock large-scale value across industries, and his art for service through Nona Church, the Urban League, and the Boy Scouts of America has demonstrated that true success is measured by impact, not title. I am also very, very excited because I know that life is not measured by duration. Life is measured by donation. And so I know as we move towards America 250 independence, must always serve people, communities, and the future. So please join me tonight to welcome to Dr. King's talk show, Kate Hamilton. You are very much welcome, Kate. How are you doing? Your story is such an inspiration, and you have you have broken so many barriers and broken so many grand rules to get to the vision. Everything you have done, I keep saying vision and vision and vision. I used to say that vision is the picture of a preferable future. So you built Skybound Solution into a company known for unlocking large-scale value. What inspired you to start, and how did your engineering and management background has shaped that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. I'm excited to be joining you and your audience today. I think one of the key things that I should do just for the benefit of your audience is kind of let them know what Skyward Bound Solutions does at its core, right? We build customized plans for individuals to reach and obtain and maintain generational wealth. And we do this by focusing in three pillars, right? Housing, investing, and consulting. And we can go into more details as we discuss. But your team can check me out on www.skywardbnd, that's boynancy.dog.com. So your question, why did I start? What inspired me? God put in my heart and on my lips a scripture that kind of stuck with me. And it was actually Proverbs 29:18, where there's no vision, the people perish. And that's why it's interesting that you had mentioned vision at the front here, Dr. King, because that is critical, right? And even though I had that scripture, and we keep that in everything that we do, even to this day, it still took me a while to really own kind of this business idea, this full entrepreneurial journey. It didn't really hit me until I bought my first house at age 25. I was in West Hartford,
Mm.
Connecticut, and I was an engineer. I was making good money. I knew what I was making. I knew what it took me to get that house, and I was invited over to an associate's house, and he was a plumber or an electrician, and his house was immaculate. It was beautiful. I mean, and it was in the same area, and I said, "Hey, if you don't mind, can you help me understand, like, how are you doing this? What do you do?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm a plumber." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Like, you own the plumbing company?" And he was like, "No, I'm just a plumber." And I was just kind of like, "Okay, well, if you don't mind me asking, your house is beautiful. Like, is there a secret?" Right? I was searching at that time. And he said, "Oh, my grandma gave me this house and I just took out $100,000 loan and redid the whole inside. And so we got to talking and he relayed to me that if he had to buy his exact house with just his salary from his W-2 and nothing else, he wouldn't be able to afford the home he was living in. And that's when it clicked. It was like, man, what more people need to know what this generational wealth is, to be able to gift a child or a relative a property and give them that automatic leg up. That's what really made it sink in for me. So I used my engineering precision and problem solving capability and my, my strategic vision to really try to drive home really customized plans for individuals so that they can feel that and ideally give something to the next generation.
That's amazing. So you mean many a times what shapes the way we think and the way we reason come from like places that we least expect. And that's what you are saying right now. And I'm very, very excited about that. So you have been able to move from engineering to innovation. Tell me about your innovative approach to starting this company.
Yeah, that's a good question too. So I think one piece that's key is to understand, why I became an engineer, right? Growing up, I had the nickname Mr. Y, right? I was always curious. You could tell me anything from believable to not believable, and my first follow-up question is going to be why. So that's where I got that name, Mr. Y, and that led me into engineering, and it was really because curiosity was my first classroom, right? So I went from asking why to learning how to then leading others, right? And so I think that journey helped me get comfortable with being able to kind of move from engineering to leadership. But also, I'd be remiss if I didn't state my father, he was a drafter at General Electric GE before he graduated into leadership. And he was my mentor and my role model. And so I had somebody there, close proximity that I could look at and know that it was real. And so that really helped me kind of shape this innovative entrepreneurial business.
Oh, amazing. I've also seen something about your leadership spirit. You won the Black Engineer of the Year 2020. That is something worth talking about. Under 40 award. So those are things that are no small feat. So what are the leadership principles that guide you? What are those things that shapes you, that push you in that direction, that makes you? I know it's not about title, but something must have laid the foundation for you to get to that level. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I would say is the kind of the keys for me were visionary leadership, creative discipline, and what I like to call meticulous planning and preparation. So for the 40 under 40 specifically, I'd love to say, I kept my head down and I worked really hard and I was selected. That's not exactly true, right? I 2 years in advance, me and my beautiful wife, we sat down and we did research and looked at the last 2 years. So 40 individuals that had won the 40 under 40, and that was before AI, so it was a lot of work, right? So we did this research and tried to kind of create our own scorecard that says, hey, here's what it takes to be selected for one of these opportunities. And we built a plan, we worked the plan, and I was selected. So that was good. But Black Engineer of the Year for technical sales and marketing, that that was I was super proud of that. That caught me off guard. And it was really just because, they say pressure breaks pipes or makes diamonds. And I was in a situation where at the time the CEO had come to me. It was just after the first 737 MAX crash. And he said, hey, I need you to diversify and grow this business. And at the time, I took what was a $60 million portfolio, and in 30 months, I grew that to nearly 300 million annually. I did it. Yeah, it was a lot of work. I used to tell the team, that visual where you have people spinning, they're like spinning plates, and it's just there's a bunch of sticks with plates. I said, hey guys, we just got to make sure the plates don't drop. It was literally like we had like 9, 10 different customers. We were working through everything, but I did it really kind of creatively. We delivered fuselages at that particular company, and fuselage deliveries were down. Boeing was like 80% of our business. they weren't taking deliveries because of the crash, the second crash, and then COVID came quickly after. So
mm,
I went out and got one of the deals was a Virgin Hyperloop. Virgin Hyperloop is nothing more than a fuselage in a tube. So that allowed us to leverage existing resources that we had from a hardware perspective, but it also allowed us to
mm,
leverage what I called engineering services contracts, where we were working on design portions. And I also did something similar with what they call urban air mobility. So one of those companies
mm.
actually just went public recently, Beta Technologies, and we did similar with them where we had an engineering services as well as a production contract. And the proudest moment of that for me was while companies everywhere were laying off people, cutting jobs, my group and my business unit was actually saving jobs. We were saving
Wow.
engineering jobs, we were saving production jobs. So that was
Wow.
ultimately what was going on when I was selected. So I really do, there was no politicking involved. They looked at the record
Mm.
of my peers and I got selected. So I was really proud of that.
Amazing. Amazing. I can't say that I'm not proud also because I also saw in your resume you are this person that get involved in community service, you are involved with the Boy Scout, you are involved with the Urban League. How has that also shaped how has that contributed to your tell me about it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, faith's my absolute compass, right? I try to, I hope it comes through. Like it is extremely important to me, and I lead as a man of faith, no matter where I am, whether I'm on the basketball court, in the office, at church. It doesn't matter. I take God and the Holy Spirit with me in everything that I do. So that's my absolute compass. But I also view leadership as a service. I'm not owed leadership roles. I have the opportunity to lead, and it's really just because God has given me skill sets and capabilities and knowledge that I can steward his people with in corporate type settings as well as in community settings. So I don't, you only got one life to live. You can't save up the energy. So while I have the time and the
Yeah.
capability, I try to maximize it. And, God keeps providing and giving me opportunities. And if I can interact with somebody and leave them a little bit better than when they first met me, I think that's pretty amazing. And I love that.
Amazing, 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 amazing. Now, you are very particular about building people. You said engineering and building people looks alike, something like that. That
Mhm.
engineering is all about building people. So, what's your take on empowering the next generation? What's your take about molding and how should more corporate leader get involved in that? Looking at what America looks like right now, I
Mm.
think we need more people. So what's your take in making that happen? How are you doing that? Are you involving in the life of other people?
Yeah, that's a good one. So I kind of take it on two fronts, right? From a corporate side, I was a part of what we called a global leadership rotation program, which moved me all over the country. Like I went from Iowa to
Oh,
Toronto to Tampa to
mm.
Connecticut, and that was all in like a 2-year span. So that really accelerated my
Wow.
learning. While I was doing that, they gave
Was
me a go ahead.
was it like weekly? Was it like weekly you were going or monthly or you went
Oh
out of
yeah.
the house for like two?
Yeah, it was like I would spend 8 months in one location, then they'd move me to another location, and I spent 8 months in that location, and they moved me to another location. So, it was really accelerated, but I had enough time to saturate, get in, get to know the people, and really understand the business, make an impact, and just when you kinda start to get comfortable, they yank you out, right? And I think what it taught me is that change is the only constant, right? And through that whole cycle, I had a mentor. And even today, I kind of have a mentor, but I really have like a board of directors. And these are my personal board of directors is about 5 individuals that I use to bounce any of, things that I'm struggling with. But so on a corporate side, I've set up programs like that so that young, new engineers can get in and gain the benefit of accelerated knowledge with some top level leadership to can help contribute to them, but then in the
Mm,
community, I think there's the opportunity to give back and really try to figure out how we can use our God-given talents to enrich something that's going on in our community. So I like to say
mm,
when you pour into your team, they pour into the
mm.
community. And one of the things that
Mm.
I've done that's had success is my leadership team. I'll say, hey, outside of your 9 to 5, I need you to have one objective that's given back to the community. And I found that to pay.
Mm, wow, wow. This is an interesting story, I'm telling you. Very, very interesting. But I would have loved, there's something I want to flip back a little. You mentioned something about moving from location to location, spending like, was this documented? Do you have it documented, like the process, the journey, and all of that? Was it documented? And why didn't you turn something like that into a book?
So that's it's funny that you say that. I've recently been contacted by a number of different folks that are saying, "Hey, you should consider writing a book." And I'm about 70% of the way there. I think I will be releasing a book, but yeah, there's a number of things on that journey and that path that I've been able in retrospect to see, it was all divine from above, and he knows our path before we do. His ways are not our ways, and he's been helping shape me down this career journey, and I've been fortunate to reap the benefits.
I'm telling you, it's something you need to really look into. I'm telling you. Now, there's also something you mentioned about creating generational wealth. Can you break down this one? I want you to be concise, but I want you to break down like in steps. How can young Black professionals, in our communities, how can they enter into this realm of generational wealth? Because right now, the research says that 78% of American family, it doesn't matter the background, they all live from paycheck to paycheck. So how do we break the cycle of generational poverty and move into generational wealth? Because you have been able to do that. How can more people step into that role? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it breaks my heart, those statistics, because it's real, and it's real
Mm,
people. And I think, the first key that people really have to understand is wealth isn't a number, it's a system, right? And you need some system that's giving you cash flow while you're doing something else. So the basics of wealth, the framework of the freedom is, you hear it, everybody gets it. Discipline with a budget, automate your savings, build multiple streams of income. And it's easy to say, but there's a lot of work that goes into it. And one of the things that we do at Skyward Bound Solutions is we have a proprietary system that we call OUTDRAG, right?
mm,
It just and it's an acronym, but it's an acronym for a reason to help you remember. The O is ownership, the U is
mhm,
upgrade your side hustle, as we like to call it,
mhm,
is taxes and tax strategies. E is debt
mhm.
management. The R is resources. And this is resources is when people are always like, I don't have any resources. But we're talking time, talent, and treasures. Everybody's got resources. It's how do we deploy those resources to your benefit towards generational wealth? Well, the A is a vision. Like we said earlier, you got to have a vision. You got to know where
Yeah,
you're going. And then the G
yeah.
is for gaining business credit. So we have a system
Mm,
that we take individuals through, they fill out a quick questionnaire, we find out where they are on that journey, and then we build them a
mhm,
customized plan to get to that point where
mhm.
they can have generational wealth, they can maintain it, and they can give it to the next generation. And in that,
Wow.
again, you can book on our website. We got 15-minute consultations that are free. We'll walk some people through that. But also, one other piece is, especially when you have families, small families, and I can't stress this enough, financial literacy is not taught in the classroom. So you really have to do that real time at home with your family. Like I have 4 children. They all have the 3 jars. And if you don't know what the 3 jars are, it's basically they have a jar that says spending, they have a jar that says investing and saving, and they have a jar that says giving. And whenever they do their chores, we give them, it's hard now because nobody really plays in money, but we get the money, physical money, we give it to them. They put it into their jars, and the ages on my kids span from 9 all the way down to 2. So really, the 2-year-old, not so much, but really at about 3.5, 4, they start to understand these concepts. And if you can do this early enough, you're already starting to pour generational wealth habits into your children early on, even if you don't have 2 pennies to rub together. Like just a story, one of our clients who went through, he came to us $60,000 in bad debt, right? Credit card debt, student loans. And he had a good job. He worked at Apple. He was making good money, but he was living in a rental. And frequently he had more month than money, as they like to say, and he couldn't understand why it kept happening.
mm,
Took him through that
mm.
system now, and that was in 2017. Just in 2025, earlier this year, he was able to leave Apple. He's got multiple generating properties that are generating income, and
Wow.
he was able to open up an art gallery because he was passionate about that, where he's teaching kids and displaying local art and talent. And it's just like this is I love stories like that. I wish I could get more and more folks involved, and that's one of the reasons why we're looking at turning the system into an application that should be out in the app stores sooner than later.
Oh, amazing. Congratulations. That's a very huge one.
Yes.
That is a very huge one. That, I mean, that means very soon you're gonna come back again. You have to talk about that because yes, well, that's what's celebrating, I'm telling you. Because that should actually lead me to the next question about America 250. I think as America proceed towards the 250 years, we need more young, innovative thinkers, more creative people. And this app you are talking about is like going towards that kind of direction where you'll be able to, I mean, once it becomes an app and it's on Apple Store or it's on Android Store, a lot of people will be able to download it and will be able to participate. I think that's like the kind of direction you're trying to go, even though it's not for the 250, but what it entails is that more people will be able to get involved in this journey. So tell me more about it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think when you think about, our responsibility for this 250 anniversary coming up, I tell people as an engineer what you're doing all day, every day is solving problems. And I think what we need to do as leaders and engineers and people is really get back to the basics, right? This
Yeah.
country was founded on this melting pot idea where people of different credos and creeds would get together and solve problems for a
Yeah.
common mission,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we need to honor the legacy of America, not by trying to preserve or recreate the past, but by designing systems that increase access, opportunity, education,
Mm,
access to capital,
mm,
things that will help every man, woman, or child, regardless of zip code,
mm-hmm.
feel safe in the environment that they live, learn, work, and play in. I think that'll really, if we can use that as like a mission statement in everything
Mm-hmm.
we do, asking, hey, is this helping increase opportunity or education or
Mm,
access to capital? If we really got back
mm,
to those basic fundamentals, I think we would see
mm-hmm.
another step increase in America's growth and where we're headed as a country.
I quite agree with that. I quite agree with that, and I'm telling you, it's commendable. We've been talking so much about the positive, the positive. Now, tell me, what are one major challenge that you've had faced in your journey, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Okay. You know, early on, there's a lot of barriers that you go through, especially, being black in corporate America, especially on the career trajectory that I was on. The first pretty much 18 years of my career, I was the youngest and the darkest in the room. And, that challenge makes you kind of stick out. You've got to know what you know and stand on your principles because there are challenges to that. And, while I'm simultaneously fighting for a seat at the table, I'm also in parallel building my own table so I can help bring people along
Mm,
in both fashions,
mhm,
right? Because if you're not,
mm,
the saying is, if you're not at the table, you're on the table, which means if you're not in there discussing what's about to happen, it's going to happen
yeah.
to you. And so I really
You
like,
are sorry, I didn't want to cut you. They said if you are not on the table, then you are the menu on the table.
if you're not at the table deciding, you're on the table.
But on the table, you are the menu. So you have to both. I love what you said. You have to both fight to be on the table and to also build your own table that can bring many people along. That's a very powerful. Please
Right.
go ahead. That's a very
No,
powerful
yeah,
one. Yeah.
that's the key because one of the things that I've realized is for every barrier I'm able to overcome, just the way that I
Mm,
lead, it becomes a blueprint for someone else to succeed.
mm,
And I like to say,
mm,
hey, jump the learning curve, right? if I can communicate a story in a way that you can embody it and feel like you felt it and learned it, then you don't have to go through it on your own, and now you're that much
Uh,
further ahead.
that's a very powerful one. That's a very powerful one. And so, if you could speak to the next generation of leaders and entrepreneurs as America proceed forward, what would be the kind of hope? Because I think a lot of people need hope right now. So I wanted to give hope to people that it's not yet lost, that they can still make it, they can still break through, they can still get it done, that every challenge is an opportunity to bring out the champion in you. So I wanted to give some kind of hope to people, challenge them and provoke them and let them know that it's still possible. Because from your story, I think it's still possible. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible, and I would say, operate with integrity at all times, right? Think
Mm,
about the story that's gonna be told about you when you're not there. I'd say stay anchored in faith because that's always gonna get you through hard times. But I'd also say
mm,
build systems that make success inevitable, as opposed to hoping and praying for it. Like, build the systems that will make it so that it's a foregone conclusion. And then one thing,
mm.
reflect inner and say, for everything can change for you if you're willing to change. So remember,
Everything can change if you are willing to change. That's a
right.
powerful one.
Yeah, and that to me, just you gotta look in the mirror, you gotta look deep and find out where can I improve, and I try to do that every day. I'm always looking for ways I can improve, and I also say, for every problem that you solve, you should be lifting
Mm,
someone up, even if it's just like, hey, growing up, hey, my dad would be like, I'm about to change the brakes on the car. Do you want to learn?
mm,
When I was younger, it was like, no, I'm playing these video games, but he's like, no, you're gonna learn. And it's like just something simple like that. He empowered me with the capability to know how I know how to change the brakes. I know how to change the oil. These sort of things when you're solving any problem, just bring somebody along with you because you don't know
mm.
how that can contribute to their growth in the future.
I love that. So your father also had played a major role in shaping your worldview. A lot of people want to become master overnight, but they don't know that it's a process. Okay,
It is.
so what will you be remembered for? What will be your legacy? What will you love America and the people around the world to remember you for? Yes.
Yeah. I don't remember who said it or when I heard it, but early on in my career, I always took the position that as a leader, you really can't quantify your legacy until you can look back and see the leaders that
Mm,
you've developed and the teams that
mm,
you've grown. And for me,
mm,
I hope and pray that my legacy is one that creates wealth builders who can
yeah,
leverage their wealth to
mm,
improve the world around them by making it
mm,
fairer and more
mm,
inclusive.
mm,
So for me, when the next generation, I think about my kids specifically, but when that generation surpasses me because I've poured and
mhm,
imparted all the wisdom that I could possibly give them, I'll be able to
yeah.
say, I fought the good fight. I have finished my course and I kept the faith, right? Second Timothy 4:7. I'm hoping that something around that is what my legacy will be.
The success until your successors succeed. John Maxwell said it that a leader is not a success until the people that are coming behind you, until when they succeed. That is when you can really say that you have become successful. And I think that's what you are trying to say
Yeah.
about the kind of legacy. I think that is very, very amazing. Ira. And so because as America is going towards our 250 years, I think if there's anything that I want this show to do is to raise more innovative thinkers like you who can break the generational curses. I mean, it's a mindset. People are going to have a mindset shift. They're going to have a shift in the way they think because I keep saying to people, if you don't think, you will stink. It's a matter
Mm,
of time. We are living in a world right now that is not ruled by strength, is ruled by sense. One day you'll be able to break the $1 billion code. It may not really be because we want to be called billionaires, but because there are millions of people that we need to add value to their life, that we need to transform them, we need to put them to school. We need to pay their tuition. We need to do quite a number of things. Until one is financially free, you cannot liberate other people. This has been a very, very intelligent and very, very enriching conversation. Give more one word. I want to speak to the camera and talk to young people and challenge them and inspire them. And I mean, go ahead. The table is yours. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd say I'll just pursue excellence, you know. And when you're pursuing excellence, it requires you to blend disciplined action, a system with purpose, you know, your faith and integrity and service, lifting people up. So go pursue excellence in whatever it is that excites you, but make sure you take those three things with you: system, faith, lift others up.
Amazing, 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 amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited. We give it up for you, Kid Hamilton. You've really proved that, you mentioned something that it's not tied to. I mean, when they brought you into the 40 on the 40, that looks like, okay, I didn't do anything but when it was the black engineer, this one, I didn't have anything to do with it. I just know that they look at the result and the results speak for itself. And from what you have said tonight, I can tell you your life is really, really an inspiring story. If people go through the process, it takes the process to produce a product. It is the product that gives back to the profit. It is the profit that gives back to the productivity. It is the productivity that gives back to posterity that generation we keep talking about. Also, guys, I'm so excited tonight to speak with Kate Hamilton. He's an award-winning engineer, entrepreneur, innovator, financial freedom expert, someone who has contributed tremendously at a very early young age in shaping the future. I can tell you very strongly, look forward to him very soon. He's going to be a national voice because I'm not just trying to celebrate or talk about him, but the work speaks for itself. And so I'm so excited hosting Kate on this very intelligent conversation tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how we're going to draw the curtain on Dr. King's talk show tonight. Looking forward to another beautiful interview tomorrow as I bring in another guest for you. This is Dr. King's talk show. It's a 250 days countdown as America moved towards a 250 years independence on the 4th of July 2026. This is my closing word, and I want you to understand it's real. America is a country built by immigrants and powered by immigrants. And I can tell you, very soon we'll be led by immigrants across all sectors of the economy. This is the time to rise up. This is the time to take the responsibility because responsibility is the price of greatness. I see great people rising up in this nation that is going to fulfill the dream of Martin Luther King, that you will not be judged by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character. Kate said it all: integrity, process, vision, depend on God, and everything.
You right? You good?
Thank you, Kate. Love. I'll speak with you after now. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. Yeah.